Hello, happy people, and welcome to your Moment of Zed, the YouTube channel dedicated to the most beautiful car in the world. There it is. The BMW Z3, or as the folks in Sudbury call it, the Z3. I'm Mark, and today we're going to do some work that a lot of people have been requesting lately. I'm going to remove the door card from the driver's side, which is, again, something people have been requesting. We're going to take a look at the two most common parts that break and how you might be able to get those. Probably more difficult than it should be. But before we get to all that, we have three Zeds of the week. And first up, we have Rowan from Missoula, Montana, with his 1997 1.9-liter 5-speed Roadster with 65,000 miles. Now, this is a recent purchase, and since he's bought it, he's put in new spark plugs, a new rear window, put on new wheels. He's done the glove box fix. He's done the seat bushings and installed a cold air intake. Very nice. Next up, Jeff from North Carolina with his 2000 2.5-liter 5-speed Roadster. He's a 5-year owner of this car with 165,000 miles. He's installed a keyless entry system, put on new tires, a new alternator, new rear bumper weights, and the spare tire delete. He's done brakes all around, and last year he and his wife took a 9-day trip in the car down the entire length of the Blue Ridge Parkway. Very nice. And last but not least, Kai from Cambridge in the United Kingdom, who was a 15-year E36 3 Series Coupe owner, but he had to sell it. Since then, he bought the Z3, and he says he won't go back. He will never sell the Z3, which is a 1998 2.8-liter model with 110,000 miles. He's put in a new clutch, a whole new cooling system, polyurethane bushings. Next up, he is going to put in a retro Blaupunkt Frankfurt radio, which I looked at. Very cool looking head unit. He's going to do the seat bushings and do an undercarriage strip and powder coat. Very nice. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for sharing your beautiful cars. If you'd like to see your car on Zed of the Week, please follow the easy instructions in the description below. Now let's take apart my door and pray I don't break anything. Off we go. Okay, so here's the tools we're using. Not much to it. The old Poraxy Kit, which you've seen on many of my videos previously, if you've watched them. Link in the description. And a T20 male Torx driver. And that should be about it, other than some soapy water when we do the reinstall. All right, some general things before we get into the work. I've got the window down. I've got the door unlocked because I want this to be as high as possible when I'm doing the work. Basically, how this is held on is underneath the side view mirror control, there's a Torx screw. If you have a newer car that has a side airbag, you're going to see a small side airbag labeled cover, little tiny thing that you would just pry out with your hand. And then there's another T20 Torx screw behind that. I don't have that, so I can't show it. And then this trim piece around the door lever is going to come off too. And other than that, what we can't see is a bunch of plastic clips at the side and bottom that we're going to have to pull out using the Poraxy tool. And up top, this whole door card fits into a sill that's part of this rubber piece, and that's just basically pressed down in there. So that's the basics of what we have to undo. Let's get started. Okay, so step one, I'm taking one of my smaller Poraxy tools and I'm going to wedge this. I have a little bit of more space at the bottom, but basically I'm gently prying this out, the side view mirror control, and then I'm just going to, and I know you can only see my hand, but I'm just going to work it out. There's actually two metal clips on top and the bottom, but those are already past where they're held in, and then you see the connector, and again those metal clips are here, and similar one on the bottom that slide into that slot right there. But again, that's just a pry out, and I'll show you in a minute with a flashlight, but that T20 Torx is right back there. Now this, if we're going to remove a door card completely, probably needs to be disconnected. So let's work on that. This is just simply a wiggle one. Wiggle and pull gently and comes right out, and it's only going to go back in one way. So now you've kind of gotten this out of your way. I'm just going to set it aside. And there's that T20 torque screw right behind the connector, and we're just going to go ahead and unscrew that. All right, so I actually had to start this with a ratchet, but again, this is T25, not a T20. And if it falls into the door card when you're removing it, not the end of the world, because you're going to pull it off anyways, but we're going to try and get this out without it falling down. And we're going to do that with needle nose pliers. And you can see this is a machine screw type of screw. If you have the airbag torque screw on the outboard side, that is going to be a self-tapping pointy end type, so don't get them confused. They are not interchangeable. Okay, next step, remove this cover. Now what I kind of did was, since I know it hasn't been off in 25, 26 years, I kind of worked my way around gently with the Poraxy tool to kind of loosen it up from the leather. I don't want to mess up the leather. And then it really should just slide forward. I'll tell you, I really had some trouble with that. So I kind of wedged the Poraxy tool behind this, and then kind of just worked it. As you can see, I had trouble with it again, but once I lifted it up here and just gently worked it forward, it came out. And you can see how the clips are arranged. So don't just pry this out, because you'll break those clips. They're arranged so they have to slide forward and then out. Again, be gentle, take your time, and you shouldn't have any big problems. Okay, so I'm kind of on the next step now, and it's kind of hard to film, but what I've done is I've taken this Poraxy tool, which is really specifically a clip remover. Now there's other tools you could use, and I coated it with tape on the areas where it was going to contact the painted metal. And what you kind of have to do is, I kind of went in here and opened this up a little bit and stuck a flashlight, and what I'm looking for is the clips. Now I'll show you what the clip looks like. And what I really didn't know when I started this was that, again, I'll do my best to show this and zoom in on it. What I really didn't know when I started this was that the clip, and there you see a clip, it's a white clip, and the idea is this tool will go around that clip with the V notch there, and it will go around that clip, and then you could pop it out directly. And I'll just do this one. And this one's kind of tough because it's close to where this latch is in, so there's not a lot of play here. But there you go. You squeeze that, and it pops it loose. And what you're looking at is that plastic clip. Now the male end of this plastic clip is on the door card, but as you can see, kind of when I move this, it doesn't move as much as the door card. That's because it's not connected directly to the door card. But again, excuse the lighting. This is kind of a difficult thing. But we'll see how that's actually arranged once I get the door card off. There's one of these about every 6 to 8 inches. Here's the next one. So again, you can see how that's arranged, and there's going to be a bunch of those going around to the bottom too. So I kind of just, I explored a little bit with this tool, opened it up a little bit, and once I saw with the flashlight the clip, I went around that clip and popped it. So I'm just going to keep doing that. Okay, so we have all the clips popped, and you can tell because the door card is just hanging by the upper sill here. And I found the hardest ones to get out were the ones here, because the tool didn't have as much room to work in. But now, supposedly, all we have to do, supposedly, is lift the entire thing up and out. And you know what? I think we're pretty much there. We do have to disconnect speaker wires. So let me just hang this back up here for a second, and then we'll get into that part of it. Okay, so nothing can be perfect when you're dealing with 26-year-old plastic. This piece should have slid out with the rest of it, but what happened instead was the glue holding this to the main part of the door card let loose, and this screw, which was actually screwed into the door card, as you can see, that didn't make it either. This should have slid up like the rest of it and slid out. I'm just going to leave it there for now. And of course, one thing, if you have a BMW, a Z3, this little plastic part, as you can see, clips into that other plastic part. That often pops loose, so that's what that is. My passenger side one is sitting in my center console box because it popped loose, but that's all that thing is right there. So if you have that problem, this would be a good opportunity to fix that. I'm just going to leave this here for now. There's no real reason for me to pull this out. What I do need to do, though, is disconnect the speaker. Now, another thing happened. This speaker kind of let loose from the other part of it. All right, off camera, I slid the speaker connections out. It is simply black to black and then yellow to yellow. Now, this yellow should have came out with the door, so I'm actually going to have to reattach that speaker. I think what I'm probably going to do as well is reattach this to the door card as well, because I think if I don't, everything's going to be kind of loosey-goosey up here. So I'm going to reattach this. And there's one other thing, the speaker, this, and one other thing I have to reattach. All right, so let's take a look at the inside of the door card or door panel, depending on what you want to call it. That speaker that came out, for me, I think is just pressed in. And it's kind of loose now, which is probably why it came out. I'll put a little adhesive in there, and then we should be all set to reinstall the speakers. I mentioned that those clips earlier are not directly connected to the door panel. This door panel is, I don't know what this is. It feels like cardboard. It's really kind of crazy. But these clips, as you can see, are glued. Of course, they're glued to the main part of the door panel. And what happened to me, and why I heard so much rattling around, you may have heard it on camera, I don't know, is that the door clips on the side are actually clipped into this piece right here, which unfortunately let go from the adhesive. So you can see that again, all of these clips are not directly into this fiberboard, whatever it is. You've got these plastic bases for the clips. So what I'm going to have to do, and I have a feeling that there was a kind of a mechanical fastener here that I must have broken away. Hard to tell. Actually, that's just glue. Anyhow, I'm going to take some kind of adhesive and put that back in, so probably won't be able to reinstall the door card till tomorrow. But that's how that works. So this is why you got to be careful with them. When you take your clip tool, you really need to know that you are on the clip itself and not out here somewhere prying against them, because they'll let loose. And I think that's what kind of happened to me. I thought I was careful. I guess maybe I wasn't careful enough, but again, it's 26-year-old glue, so maybe it's not my fault this time. All right, so let's take a look at the door without the door panel. What you've got is you've got some sound insulation, basically, that's looks like it's kind of RTV'd in, and that's covering the window mechanisms, the door locks, all of that. I don't really feel like peeling mine completely away, but if you were going to redo your window regulator or lubricate your window, which I might do today, you're going to have to pull at least some of this away to do that. I wanted to talk about this part because people have been asking about it. This is called the door handle in the OEM parts thing. I'll show you that in a minute. There's obviously 4 kinds. There's a black one for the driver's side or left side. You may, your driver's side may be different. And there's a chrome one. Now the black one, and again, I'll put links to all this in the description. The black ones and the chrome ones and the right ones and the left ones all have different part numbers. Here they are. Now, the chrome ones, the original BMW ones, are available on at ECS Tuning. Again, linked all this in the description for, I think, $70, $75, which I don't think is that bad. It's held in by one screw, but again, I'm not going to peel this away. Mine's fine. The black ones, I'm really having trouble finding. I found some aftermarket ones on partsgeek.com that are only $5, but I'm not going to attest to the quality of those. They're not original parts. I'm really having trouble finding the original parts. Maybe you can. I can't right now. But again, 4 different part numbers for those. So those are definitely available. Let's take a look at the part that's really difficult to get that a lot of people have problems with, and that's back on the door panel. Okay, another thing I noticed on the inside of my door panel as you flip it around is that, and I noticed this from the inside, but well before I took it off, was that my armrest is kind of caving in and fiberboard material is kind of breaking up. Now it's reinforced by this, basically is like a fiberglass matting almost, but that isn't really helping it too much after 26 years. I'm not that worried about it. It's no big deal. I suppose I could jury rig away to reinforce this a little bit more, but I think it'd be difficult, and I just try not to put pressure on it, so I'm going to leave that alone. I suppose you could glue in something a little more solid up here, maybe. I don't know. I'm not going to worry about that. The other big thing I wanted to talk about before I re-glue this and do the reinstall is the door handle itself. So the door handle, and I think this has been a problematic part for many people, is this guy right here. Now, there are several different versions of this. Of course, right hand, left hand. There's also beige and black colors, and there's also leather ones, and the leather covered ones, they're unobtainium as far as I can tell. Can't find them anywhere. This guy, which is basically, I guess, plastic, and I think there's foam inside of it, the OEM part, is upwards of $800 new, original, which is just mind-boggling. I've had a lot of people comment about that. By the way, here's those part numbers for those handles. Again, the leather ones, right or left, I don't think are findable anymore, and the prices have changed significantly. So, of course, this guy is a weak point. It's really not held in all that well. It tends to break in one spot, which is kind of inside. I'll show you that in a minute. But, of course, if you're grabbing this and really herking on it to close your door, that's going to weaken it over time, especially over 20 or 30 years. Anyways, this guy, this door handle is held in, again, not very well. It's held in at the aft portion of it by these 2 little screws and this metal bracket. And that seems to work. And again, around the fiberboard part of the door panel, the main part. It's this guy up here, which tends to be everyone's problem, it seems, is where that T25 torque screw I took out at the beginning of this came out of. So that's holding, you're pulling on the door directly, not the door card when you put force on this, but this is plastic and it's kind of molded into that handle or glued in. This tends to break. Now I've put in the description some folks who have fixed this using JB Weld. I guess that works. Again, a new one is $800. Now I found a source on eBay in Poland to get these. They're not originals and they are 3D printed. They're laser sintered. I guess that's a 3D printing process using some kind of polymer. And I think all of it is one piece. It's like $230, I want to say, plus like $10 shipping. I'm not saying that it's good, bad, or indifferent. I don't know. I'm fortunate. Mine are in good shape. But I'll put all those links again in the description. These seem to be the problem portions of these door panels. So I'm going to get working on fixing mine off camera and I'll do the reinstall for you. Before I do that, one other common issue on the Z3 door panels is the leather, or I'm not sure this is leather, this is probably pleather up here, but it starts to come away from the door panel, and I think many people have the issue where it's untucked completely and you can see it even when it's installed. Again, mine's in pretty good shape. I'm probably going to put a little adhesive here and then you just clamp it down and give it its time to dry, and then that will eliminate that problem for you. So again, this is pretty kind of standard issue with the Z3. This material pulling away from the door panel, but when you've got it off, it is very easily fixable. Okay, so I have epoxied the parts that came off of the door panel yesterday back on, let that sit overnight. So reinstallation is going to be the reverse of taking it out, starting with the speaker wires, then moving to that top sill and inserting the top edge of the door panel, and then torque screw and the trim piece around the door lever. So we're going to work it that way and hopefully it'll work. We've got some soapy water to help the top sill slide in easier. So we've got the speakers reconnected, yellow to yellow, and then down there black to black. Those just slide in. There's only one way they can go. Okay, so I'm going to lubricate the top sill of the window with some soapy water. This is going to make it easier to slide in, and we're also going to lubricate the upper edge of the door panel itself with the same water, and that should help us out. Okay, so it's kind of tough to do and film at the same time, but couple things I've done is made sure the lock is sticking out. Made sure this connection to the side view mirror is sticking out, and then basically you're going to line it up and work it from the inboard side of the car back, and you're going to have to basically press down and squeeze at the same time, and it is going to take some force for you to get that down in there. It is not easy to do, so I'm going to keep working that off camera. I've got the black plastic part here. I heard that snap in. Now it's getting the tan part in that's going to be the issue. Okay, all done. And again, the key really, I think, is as much squeezing the door panel and the door together while you push down. It's difficult. We'll get a satisfying snap. At least mine did when it went in. Again, make sure this is lined up. And I know that everything's lined up well because I actually got down on my crawled around the ground and made sure all the clips were lined up, and I made sure the Torx hole in the handle and the door were lined up, and that this is lined up, so I know I'm all set. Another thing you'll probably have to do, and I've done it already, is take a small flat blade screwdriver and run it underneath this weather stripping to lift it above the door panel. It might be kind of stuck in there when you do it, so just run this down, gently down, and lift that black weather stripping over the door panel. Okay, this is a close-up of the bottom outboard edge to show my next step, which is to snap in the clips. Just make sure they're lined up in the hole, and there you go. They will snap in with a satisfying pop. Next step, replace the T25 Torx screw in the door handle. I wouldn't go too crazy, but you need to be good and tight. Again, this is your stress point. All right, next, reconnect the rearview mirror control. Only one way that can go, snaps right in, and then gently reinsert it into the door handle. Again, that just kind of snaps and wiggles in. There we go. All set, looking sharp. And final step, reinsert the trim piece around the door lever and snap it back into place. Again, snaps backwards to go back in. Looking good. I'm gonna clean up this door panel a little bit and we're done. So folks, there you have it. Again, if you're careful, hopefully you won't break anything. Again, you're dealing with really old plastic, as always with the interior, so please be careful. But I hope that information helps you out if you have issues with the door card. Fortunately, I don't, and I didn't create too many. Thank God. If you found this content valuable, please crush that like button as always. And until next time, remember, friends don't let friends drive boring.